Good morning, Bix Weir, roadguru.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of tea. Green. What is green? It has been so long since we've seen green in the cryptos. Um, yeah, all the cryptos are catching a little bit of a bid. Bitcoin Cash up pretty good. Bitcoin SV is a joke. Rigged, stupid, all of the above. Hey, it doesn't stop cryptos. Free market trading, free manipulation trading. There's no regulators in cryptos. So you can manipulate it all you want. I would not invest in Bitcoin SV. As a matter of fact, sell it if you got it. Buy something good. Bitcoin Cash is great. It's doing well. Bitcoin's doing well. Ethereum doing well. I see a lot of good things coming down the pike for Ethereum this year, in 2020. Yeah, EOS is going to be hurting because Ethereum's going to just bulldoze it over, which is a good thing. Let's see, Litecoin. Litecoin ain't the right coin lately. It's just sitting. It's sitting and waiting. I do have some updates that I will be talking about at the Litecoin Summit. Really positive things for the future of Litecoin. Out of all the cryptos, it's probably the most manipulated. How can you tell? Look at the volumes. $3.5 billion worth of Litecoin has ever been mined in the history of mining Litecoin. And just in the last 24 hours, $2.7 billion worth of Litecoin traded hands. Welcome to our rehypothecated world of computer manipulation, my friends. When they are ready, they're going to let it run again using computers and derivatives. When it goes up, it's a rig job. When it goes down, it's a rig job. It's all controlled. There's no more fair market value. There's no more supply and demand issues. It's all bullshit. And it won't change until we change the exchanges, make them decentralized exchanges. The amazing thing is, in gold and silver, they were not capable. The gold and silver investors and people in that situation, they weren't capable of changing anything. In the cryptos, it's completely different. They are creating a new system so they can go back. The gold and silver guys can't say, okay, Rothschilds, get out of the market. They ended up getting out of the market, setting the gold fix and the silver fix in London. But it's still there, and it's still a rig job, 100%. With the nod from the U.S. government, all governments around the world, central banks around the world, the regulators, especially the SEC, is the most corrupt criminal regulatory body ever on planet Earth. That's how they allow everything to be rehypothecated. These people are either stupid or corrupt. The CFTC mostly stupid. The SEC mostly corrupt. That's just the fact, and we've known it for 20 years in the gold and silver markets. That's how you're allowed to short an ETF on silver. Now, wait a minute. What's wrong with that picture? According to the perspectives, every share bought represents 1 ounce of silver. What does the shorting represent? They don't pull the ounce of silver out. That means someone is short silver. Literally, someone who bought an ETF, they don't hold your silver. Then there's the rehypothecation of the actual shares of SLV, and we all know silver's rigged. But yeah, it's nice to see green in the cryptos. All our favorites are doing okay. I want to talk about this. Price of silver. You can see manipulations. They're straight up, straight downs. It's obvious. It's been obvious for a hell of a long time. As a matter of fact, the DOJ has busted JP Morgan employees, not saying they're JP Morgan employees, for rigging the price of silver. And yet, it's still allowed to be rigged every day in every trade. JP Morgan was not removed from the silver market, even though they're going after him for RICO charges. There's no cease and desist. There's nothing. Like I said, they're criminal and corrupt. And I'm going to show you just how corrupt they are. Every year they mine about 800 to 850 million ounces of silver. That's the new stuff coming out of the ground. A portion of that should be hedged, probably. Most of the miners don't hedge silver at all anymore, though. So where is all this volume? Who is hedging silver? Who in their right mind is going short silver unless you have silver in your hands? Look at the volumes on silver. This is the exchange volume over the last couple of weeks. Averages about 130,000 contracts, which is 650 million ounces. So almost all the silver that's mined in an entire year is hedged, so to speak, in about a day and a quarter. It is insane. You think cryptos are crazy. Yes, Bitcoin, but that's not the total in the world that's available. How much is in the world that's available of silver? They estimate about 6 billion ounces. That hasn't, obviously all the silver that's ever been mined is still out there. There's 60 billion ounces out there in the world. You just can't get it. It's in landfills. It's lost. It's gone. Little tiny cell phone molecules. It is gone. Silver is consumed. It's a consumable. So the oddity is if there's very little silver left, it's estimated about 2 billion ounces of physical silver can be in play for trading, with JP Morgan owning 1 billion ounces, or at least holding. Nobody knows who owns JP Morgan. And nobody knows if it's all fake silver. Ted Butler talks about the withdrawals that they make. Yeah, they do. But we don't know what's in those bars. And, you got someone like JP Morgan, they're probably molybdenum, molly bars, as I used to call them. That's the closest density and weight to make a bar and then coat it with silver. How many of those are coated bars? So one of my recommendations back when I was working with GATA was to do a global remelt of all the metals. If you want to figure out how much metal there is, there's no way. But the closer you can come is you're going to have to remelt and then recast and recertify every single ounce of gold and silver in the world, because there's so many fakes. Massive amount of fakes coming out of China. That's why I say stick to the 1 ounce. If you can do the pre-65 coins, those are probably the best. Silver Eagles have a much stiffer penalty for counter. Those are counterfeiting charges if they try to fake those, as opposed to just fraud. And counterfeiting, because it's U.S. based, it's $1. The Silver Eagle is $1 printed by the U.S. Mint. So we know that. We know that on the COMEX and the LBMA. So this is just part of it. So they're rehypothecating derivatives and trading derivatives daily on the COMEX, and I have the average daily volume. It has gone through the roof. Right here, COMEX Silver 128 for September of 2019, 128 or 129,000 contracts, which is about 640 million ounces, up 48% from last year. 48%. How much silver has been mined? More silver, maybe 1 or 2%. But they take this gigantic derivative and they have to grow it by 48%. Look at the monthly volume. It just gets into the ridiculous numbers. 2.5 million contracts. 2.6 million. I'll do the math right now. 2.6. There's 5,000 ounces per contract. 13 billion ounces of silver were traded on COMEX. And that's just one exchange. The LBMA is even bigger. And it's all derivatives. It's all bullshit. It's all done to rig the price. Here is the derivative report on, this is from the OCC, the Office of Comptroller of Currencies. This is the derivatives for silver, mainly. There's some platinum and palladium, but it's mainly silver. Look at this. And this is just the first and second quarter. Third quarter, fourth quarter, I bet you these jump again. We are beyond all-time highs for derivatives in silver. Beyond all-time highs. What could go wrong? Insane. And the vast majority, if not the vast majority, let's just say, it's held by JP Morgan and Citibank, trading back and forth with each other to rig the price. Other people in on this game, Deutsche Bank, obviously, HSBC, Scotiabank. There's about 8 of them. But the big mothers, especially on the COMEX, that have to report, because this is just U.S. Banks and Savings Association. That is J.P. Morgan and Citibank. If you want to stop manipulation, shut down those criminal banks, and that's part of what the repo stuff is all about. Let me show you just how big this is. J.P. Morgan currently has $55 trillion in derivatives. Citibank, $52 trillion. Goldman Sachs, $49 trillion. Those are the big ones. J.P. Morgan, Citibank, and Goldman. And then a couple more, and then it goes on almost to nothing. Well, if you call it $1 trillion nothing. So let's just look at the top 10. J.P. Morgan, Citibank, and Goldman, and Bank of America. Those are the monsters. And then it jumps from 22, half that, to 12. You get into Wells Fargo, and then even a bigger jump down to HSBC. So basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top 5 banks hold the vast majority of U.S. bank derivatives. J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Goldman, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. And they're all massively, look at the fines they've paid, massive criminals. Like literally criminals. Like RICO charges is putting it lightly. But yeah, what could go wrong, right? And I'll show you the precious metals OCC data, and it's really interesting because it's so obvious who the riggers are. So let's see here. That's gold. Now, gold, you don't know what it is anymore because they mixed gold with foreign exchange on this report. It's like, well, if you're trying to disguise it, yeah, and they're saying that gold plays no role. Well, then why is it mixed with foreign exchange when you report it? But here's the silver one, and look at the literally 2. There's only 2 banks that hold these monster derivative positions. J.P. Morgan, $17.9 billion of silver derivatives, and Citibank, 11.9 billion. Obviously, J.P. Morgan is the big mother. Citibank is the smaller cousin. But where is everybody else? Talk about concentration. This is what Ted Butler talks about. Manipulation and proving manipulation is all about concentration. And when you have derivatives concentrated in the top 5 banks, all derivatives, that's a recipe for disaster when they go wonky, which they're about to. And you got the DOJ investigating for RICO charges. What could go wrong? Anyway, again, last weekend I posted a new timeline report. I hadn't done one since September 11th. I did 8 up to that point. No, 7. So this is the 2 originals and then the 6 updates. This is where we are. This is my latest take on when we're the next jump. It's called the next trigger. So go check that out at the private road at roadtoruta.com. Also, I do have a Patreon channel, Road to Ruta, and it's really cool. Get on there, and that's only $10 a month. So check out both those, and I'll check in later today.